All right, I'll call this special meeting to order. You want to stand? We'll do the pledge. Do it right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good afternoon. We're here to discuss what has happened in our executive meeting. We had an executive meeting called earlier today to discuss pending litigation against the town of Danville. And it was the advice of our attorney that we allow the insurance attorneys to handle any type of monetary litigation, and that it is that we would do two things. We would approve or appoint someone to represent the town of Danville for non-monetary awards, and then secondly, we'll discuss and vote on what those awards would be. All right? So, we have, just so that you know, Chris, Dennis, Tom, myself, Jenny, Chief Rainey, Kevin Hill, our insurance agent, Mark, Will are here, and Betty.
Okay.
So you got a picture of what's going on here. So we have two things to do today. Number one, to appoint someone to represent the town Friday. My suggestion would be that we appoint Mark, and Jenny, you could go with him, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, discussion. Anybody got a problem with that?
I'd make a motion for Mark and Jenny to go Friday to represent
All right, we have a motion to allow Mark Morgan and Jenny Pierce to represent the represent the town in this pending litigation. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second and a third. All those in favor, except for Jim, who cannot vote, signify by saying aye. Aye. All four of us? Excellent. All right. The second part, what do we want to give this guy? If it comes down to it, Chul made a point that, do we want to continue dragging out legislation, or would it be better to cut our losses, and if Officer Nealon wants a retirement badge and a neutral letter of recommendation, that we give that to him? As Mark pointed out earlier, it's not required that we give a badge, although Chief Rainey pointed out that it is usually custom that we would do that for a retired officer. What are the thoughts of the council? Or Jim, if you've got anything, chime in.
Okay. Kevin, what does Kevin think that the monetary results might be over?
Jim, it's not my opinion as much as I think it is Chul's, but it echoes what I heard from Jeremy Diltz yesterday. They would not offer anything more than what the expense of going to the next level of prosecution would be. So whatever it would cost for Jeremy, for us to defend this claim going to the next level, they would offer less than that, because both the insurance attorney and Chul believe there's no liability.
Jim, this is Jenny. We have not spent anything because this has been turned over to EMC. A report has not been provided to any of us of a retention schedule and a payment schedule of charges by. We're having a communication breakdown with Carson LLC, the law firm, and the attorney is Jeremy. I'm not sure, but we are having a definite communication breakdown. So I have requested that. Chul has requested that report, and Chief Rainey has requested that report. Mark's requested that report, and it has not been given to us as of this minute. So
what it's going to cost us is a letter and a badge, and somebody's going to pick up any liability, $20. The insurance carrier will pay us to
you have a deductible of $3,000, which EMC will bill you for at the resolution of the claim, and that applies to defense costs. So literally, whatever the EMC wants to offer him is not money out of the council's pocket, it's money out of the insurance company's pocket.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other discussion from council members? Tom?
I agree with the letter. Give him a badge.
Okay, Tom says letter and badge. Chris, what do you think? Same. Dennis? Seems rather inexpensive if this goes away, and I don't see the hang-up. This is not the hill we're going to die on. No offense, Kevin. That's why they pay me the big bucks. All right, so if that's the case from the council, I'll take a motion.
Before you make
Sir.
that motion, may I interject one thing?
Absolutely.
Given the police department's SOPs, I want to make sure that we clarify that we are not going to give him a weapon, that he doesn't meet all of the requirements for their retirement program. Thank you. Under their SOP, General Order 04.47, under retirement, we just want to make sure that the town and the police department are not required to give a firearm, that the concession by his request is for a retirement ID only.
No, we're still here. Mark is questioning our SOP to make sure that he is not granted a firearm according to our SOPs. And Chief Rainey, the clarification on that is he would not be granted a firearm, is that correct?
If we don't vote on a firearm, how would he get a firearm?
I can't hear him. Say that again, please. Okay. And your point was?
If we're not voting on a firearm, how would he get a firearm?
That's why I'm asking, that we make
You're
sure we
voting on a badge
clarify.
and a letter.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's what the,
Okay, no, and I don't believe any of that was offered. That was just, the two items were the retirement badge and a neutral reference, which the neutral reference should come from our HR, or do you want to come from Chief Rainey?
Normally, in these cases, it comes from the department head or chief.
Okay,
If, what Brenda and I do, if a request is made within our office, we verify dates of employment, and that's it. If they want a character recommendation or any recommendation based on their employment, we suggest that they call the actual chief or department head that the employee reported directly to.
okay. So it's probably yes, are you raising your hand? I like that.
My question is he asking for a recommendation letter or a neutral letter? Because in that case, then that would come from Chief Rainey.
hey, Jim, when you're not wanting to talk, can you mute your phone? Because there's a lot of background noise.
Thank you. So, it would probably be in the best interest of everybody if Chief Rainey would write that neutral recommendation, and he can certainly run it past you, but I don't want to be doing 2 or 3 different letters if they don't find that sufficient.
Well, my question is, do we need to bring it with us in the morning? I didn't even think about asking Chul that.
Well,
Or
you're not going
will
to have the
be-
retirement badge, are you?
4 months probably.
Okay, so there we go. So they'll have to give us time to produce those 2 things. I'm assuming.
Assuming that it is settled tomorrow, too. I would
I
think,
didn't
I would
think about
think,
asking
I would
Chul
think that,
that.
I would think that mailing those out to Ron would probably be a lot easier than just trying to hand one over.
Right,
That way, we don't put you on the spot to try to produce something in a short amount of time.
right.
We can ask the court tomorrow to give us that time. We can ask for whatever time we need to.
Right,
to the
right.
magistrate.
And they may not know how long it takes to get a badge, so if we tell them up front, it's about a 4-month process to get the badge, and that we can mail a neutral reference out first of next week. I think that would suffice, and if they know their timelines, then there's no question, right? And we're all in lockstep on this. We're all in this thinking the same thing. Is that correct? All right, any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget that you need to authorize them to allow defense counsel for the insurance company to do the settlement. With,
Yes.
Kevin?
Okay, so we've agreed that Mark will represent. Question?
Clarification. I'm not sure if Ron's actually asking for a letter recommendation or if he's asking for when somebody would call Jenny or myself just to give him a neutral response. I don't know that, and I'm not sure it's a letter as more as it is if he calls and you say he was employed here from January the 3rd of 2000 to January the 5th of 2010. So is there a clarification on that?
And technically, from my office, he resigned, so we would give him a fair reference. We would provide the dates. If asked, was he terminated, we would answer no anyway, without even having this, because that's how we know, we pull employee files, and that's how it always is. You know, did they leave in good standing? And we would answer yes.
How would you answer it? Because a lot of these people ask, would you hire him back?
That's a good question.
That's one that gets asked quite a bit. I don't know how it was in the police world, but in my world, that's one that gets asked quite a bit.
So that's probably
How do you-
where it is right here with this. So I think we would say yes, based on if you guys vote, right, for,
I don't think we could hire him back if we
Right.
go by what
I
the
would not say
psychologist
yes.
said. Yeah, you can't say yes.
we probably need to get Chul on the phone for clarification on this, because that is a very, very good question, Dennis, because that does go through my office, and based on the recommendation of how the exit, review went, and is how we answer those questions, because it may be another clerk treasurer 5 years from now that, they'll pull the file if Brenda and I aren't here, and they'll have to go based on the information provided in the employee's file. And that would be all of the documentation that we have, that it was not favorable. So in order to give a positive response, it would take a letter, probably like what he's requesting here, that Chief Rainey says he would be hired back, those kind of things.
And that
I mean,
also
is that
comes
fair?
up, when that comes up also, you can say, we choose not to answer that question. You've not said yes, you've not
Right.
said no, let them take that for what it's
Right,
worth.
absolutely.
But you could also say, and this may be something to look at for the future of the town this, is that as a town, we don't say whether we'd hire somebody back. That's in our bylaws section, whatever, that we have voted, we are not going to say yes or no.
That's true.
That way you protect yourself.
Right,
My question is he asking for a letter,
right.
a written hard copy, or is he just asking for a neutral departure?
I think somebody needs to call Chul. My cell phone's right there, so I.
What
But
about,
we can,
If there's a neutral departure, there needs to be a
Wouldn't you guys
letter.
just ask him that tomorrow?
know
'Cause you're
what
not
we
gonna-
need to know for the vote tonight. On how.
Kevin, you have a point?
in the conversation with the attorney, or the insurance company's defense counsel, Jeremy Diltz, it was referred multiple times as a neutral reference.
That's
The
what I
word-
picked up.
The word letter was never addressed.
Okay,
And I read that in the documentation that was sent to us, that it was a neutral reference.
Yep.
So I would suggest that Chief Rainey write a document that says, Ron Nealon was an officer from this date to this date, that Ron Nealon resigned on this date, and that is all.
Absolutely.
And
I
that-
agree.
That way, it's put in his file.
Yes.
You have a copy, Human Resources have a copy. If anybody asks the question, would you hire him back, it's not on there.
And then the person can say that.
And say,
It's not
this-
in the documentation, so,
The only
like, yeah, right.
documentation I have are the start and stop dates, and that the individual resigned on this particular date. Perfect. That's about as neutral as you can get.
Policy revisions, as we start to explore those this year, we can actually put a policy in our manual that we could actually say we have a no hire back policy, if that's what we choose.
I wouldn't want to say no hire back. Somebody leaves us with good standing and they
Right.
go somewhere else and realize the grass isn't greener and wants to come back. I mean, I've done that before in my career. If they're good, you want to have them come back. I would just say that we have this is just throwing it out there, a policy that says that we don't comment on
We
that
can do
question.
whatever you guys want to do.
I just don't want to
Pretty
prevent
easy.
somebody that was good not to be able to come back.
Pleasure of the council. We've agreed to give him the badge, but we haven't had a motion and a vote on that, I believe.
Motion to give the gentleman his badge. Right.
Neutral reference. Okay, I have a motion that, on the non-monetary award, that Mark could agree to a retirement badge and a neutral reference. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0. All right, the last item, Kevin brought up, thank you very much, is to authorize our defense counsel to represent the town in this litigation. Since that is the proper way to go, it just simply needs a motion, unless you guys want to discuss this further, and a second, and then a vote. I have nothing else to add to that. That's really in the insurance's court. We just have to give them permission to represent us.
I make a motion to give the insurance company permission.
I have a second. Further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Any other? Motion carries 4-0. Any other business on this litigation? Okay, then special call is closed. All right, and we